The Utah Teapot was created in Utah in 1975 by Martin Newell. 1975 was during the early days of computer graphics, long before the software that we use today and long before computer animations were as commonplace and accessible as they are today. Martin Newell made a 3D model of a basic teapot from the company Melita, which was one of the first 3D models in the world in general, and it would later become famous. Why a teapot? Because he was British, so that's what his wife suggested to him. And also because it has parts that are concave, parts that are convex. As a whole, it's smooth, it's one color, and it can make shadows on itself, and it's a teapot. Everybody knows what a teapot is, so it ended up being a good pick. He didn't just scan it like you can today. He would have had to manually figure out where every point has to go using graph paper and everything, and then input those into a computer manually. Not everyone would want to go through that painstaking process, especially if they just need a model for a similar, simple purpose. So because of this, it was used many times for testing computer stuff on it, because it already existed and they don't need it enough for it to be worth all the extra effort to make an entire new model. Think of it as being to computer graphics engineers what lorem ipsum is to graphic designers, or what the Lena image is to image processing researchers. Probably shouldn't use that example. Okay, anyway, the modern equivalent would just be the monkey in Blender, probably. It is now 25% shorter than the original physical teapot, which is currently in the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California, because of its contribution to computer graphics. And for the same reason, the 3D model also shows up as an Easter egg in many different 3D graphics media, because 3D graphics wouldn't be where they are today without it. In 1740, Gabrielle Suzanne Barbot de Villeneuve wrote a book called La Jeune Américaine et le Conte Malin, and in it she included a story called La Belle et la Bête. That version, along with the remade versions in 1756 and 1889, were the three most popular versions of that same fairy tale until 1991, when the Disney animated film based on the story was made and overtook all of them as the most popular version. The Disney version of Beauty and the Beast was also the first one to have anthropomorphic household objects. From what I can tell, before the movie, the plotline of the palace's staff becoming objects was not a thing, and Disney just made it up. One such staff member in the movie was Mrs. Potts, the housekeeper. She has about 12 kids, all of whom turned into teacups to match her becoming a teapot. One of them being Chip, and he seems to be probably her favorite because he's always with her. The reason that she became a teapot was because of a curse that the prince of the castle caused to be put on the castle and everyone in it. To sum it up, there was an old woman who came to the door and wanted to give him a rose in exchange for shelter, so she could come into the castle. The prince, he definitely had enough space, but he thought that she was ugly and old, and he was also mean and selfish, so he didn't let her in. He rejected her twice, and then she revealed that she was, as the kids say, a baddie, and you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. That's where the rose comes in. It's the same rose that she tried to give him, and the only way for him to break the curse is to, as the kids say, riz someone up by the time the rose wilts. I mean, it was kind of unfair because she also made him a beast. And everyone else in the castle also got cursed. The prince himself turned into a monster, or should I say a beast, and everyone else turned into a piece of furniture, including Miss Potts. So she's not really a teapot by nature, but for the majority of the movie, she is a teapot. She is voiced by Angela Lansbury and Anne Rogers, and she is portrayed by Emma Thompson in the live action, all of whom are British. Go figure. Her character model appears in the Tarzan movie, like without a face, and she is all around considered an iconic Disney character. The Assassin's Teapot lets you switch between pouring two different liquids without changing which liquids are in there. You switch between them by covering the air hole of the liquid that you don't want to pour, and then only the other one pours. That's why it's called the Assassin's Teapot, because you could pour yourself a cup of the safe liquid and drink it, and nothing happens, and you pour your victim a cup from the same teapot that looks the same, but it's like poisoned or something. So they would naturally assume that it's the same liquid because they don't know about air pressure and hydrodynamics. There are 2 holes on the teapot, and each connects to a different half of the inside of the teapot with 2 different liquids in it. You'll never have liquid leaving something unless air can get back in. So when you cover up the hole of the liquid that you want to stay in the pot, you are blocking the air from getting in, and in turn the liquid from getting out. Just think about that. If I were to turn this bottle upside down, the water looks like it should be able to flow out, but there's nothing to take its place, so it won't. If there's a hole at the top here, then the air can easily get in, but if not, then all the air that's already in there is all the air that there will ever be in there, unless you take your finger off. In a real situation, without a perfect container or perfect liquid, or perfect instantaneous flip upside down, or just generally perfect physical conditions, then this would not work because the liquid would probably just pour out anyway, and the air would find a way in through the same spout that the liquid is coming out of, because there are other factors that would take place. In the case of the Assassin's Teapot, the spout is also shaped so that the liquid will cover the hole so air can't get it back in that way. It probably really hasn't been used by that many assassins. It's more of like a magic party trick that looks cool, and then you can teach people about physics using it. It apparently goes back to being made in the Ming Dynasty of China from 1368 to 1644. Russell's teapot is a theoretical teapot that exists in orbit of the Sun somewhere between the Earth and Mars. It was invented by Bertrand Russell, and not just as proof that you can't disprove it, but as the subject of an analogy to say that just because something is impossible to disprove doesn't mean that it is necessarily existent. The essay that he made the analogy in was called "Is There a God?" in 1952, so it was made as an analogy to religion. Basically, the teapot, it is too small to see even with a telescope, therefore impossible to disprove its existence, but it still is illogical to believe it 100% exists just because of that fact. His broader point was supposed to be that agnostics like him shouldn't have to disprove something instead of those who are saying it proving that it's correct. There have been arguments against it, and I could include them, but you know what? I don't want this to turn into my opinion. And Bertrand Russell was almost 80 years old when the essay was made, so you know, I'll go easy on the old guy.
I couldn't find any teapots that were archaeologically or like artistically significant, but maybe that's for the better because that's just what a teapot is, and the ones that I went over were interesting for reasons that you wouldn't expect. Okay, I'm sorry if I had errors in the facts of the video, but if you liked it, then like and subscribe, and whatever, and goodbye.